Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv. And today I am joined by sex and intimacy coach Finn Deerhart and my best friend Matthew Thomas. And today we're talking about gay sex. And in particular, if you like it hard and rough, like the kind of sex where he throws you around, slaps you, rips your clothes off, really giving into your deepest animalistic desires and feasting on another man's flesh, or if you like it soft, like the wings of a butterfly against your body, or the subtle traces of a finger sending shivers down your spine. All right, let's get started. I think I just gave myself an orgasm.
Feasting on flesh?
Well, not like,
I know
not literally, not putting it on the barbecue and grilling it. You know, you just want to like sink your teeth into a nice juicy ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Himeros Live is sponsored by Himeros.tv. Created by Davey Wavey, Himeros.tv is a website that inspires the best gay sex of your life through explicit, super hot videos. Himeros.tv content is designed by a team of gay sex experts for increased pleasure, deeper connections, and a whole lot more fun. Join the revolution at himeros.tv/pod and save 20%. Himeros.tv, it's like porn,
but better.
Good. Well, maybe next time you guys can do it in unison.
Well, I was gonna start, and then I was waiting on Matthew, and then
I was ready for like but better, and then it turned into better. I don't know. We'll work on it.
Well, let's take this offline. We'll practice.
Exactly. We'll be ready for next week.
All right. Well, before we get into our weekly check-in with y'all, I'm sure a lot of our listeners heard the news in the last few days that Casey Jacks passed away on Monday. I had never met Casey, but I chatted with him quite a bit over the phone, and we were planning on filming a project together in a few weeks in Palm Springs. And from my limited conversations with him, he really seemed like a really sweet, lovely guy. And I know his fans are going to miss him, and I certainly am going to miss not having the opportunity to get to know him better. And it also it's devastating news, and it also feels like every month there's been like a different high profile gay performer who like dies before their time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think there needs to be some sort of conversation about ways that we can better support the models. It's in industry. Finn and I were just talking about this a few minutes ago, where it feels like we're all kind of like reaping the benefits from it, but it's the models who are like really paying the price. And like, on one hand, there's a lot of challenges, I think, in the industry and being a performer, and everything from having your body constantly critiqued and the commentary, and to the stigma of doing sex work, to some of the conditions that like in different studios, and a lack of mental health services that are available to people. And one of the things that I mentioned to Finn was there's a model here in Palm Springs, also a studio owner named Trenton Ducati, and he's been working with the Desert AIDS Project out here in Palm Springs to create something called the Next Steps program. And as far as I know, I think it's the first sex positive healthcare system that's been built for the porn industry. And in most cases, it includes free mental health services. So kind of inspired by that, and in light of this conversation, I've been trying to figure out what this means for our work with Himeros.tv. I know when we launched the site, I had joked that it was grass-fed porn, and that included something that we call the Porn Star Bill of Rights, that outlines fair wages and consent and drug-free sets and zero pressure shoots that we do. And the idea is to create porn in a way that upholds the values that like you or I might expect from like the food that we're eating or the coffee that we buy. And, I think the idea being that porn is another one of those things that you consume. So we're trying to figure out how we can better support our models. And it's, something that Finn and I are working on, and we'll have more details, I think, further along. But I guess my question for you guys is why do you feel like why does it seem like there's been this like almost like an epidemic of untimely deaths with gay porn stars?
You know, I don't know what I would say as an answer specific to the performer aspect, but just gay people in general and trans people, the such a higher rate of suicide because of the in general, the lack of belonging and the lack of support from community. And like you just mentioned too, around us reaping the benefit, I think from a societal perspective, you know, we let these performers carry like the aspects of the psyche around sex that most people still struggle with, you know, in the general public and around shame and sex. So it's like, oh, I'll just let those guys kind of hold all those characteristics and that permission and can aspect all those parts of my own fantasies. But then the hypocrisy is then to not, you know, deem that it's worthy to be protected and supported, you know, and cared for in the same way that you would, you know, working in a corporation where you have benefits and all these other aspects, you know, where you're maybe sitting on your ass at a computer all day. It just shows a divide in the way that people think in a really grand way to me around sex. And I think, I don't know about the performing industry specifically, like I said, but I think just they're bearing a lot of the shadow of the public that's being projected onto them. And then not having a lot of resources necessarily growing up as gay kids to cope and to deal. And then just the pressure in the industry itself too. I mean, just in the entertainment industry across all fronts, not just adult films, you know?
Yeah. And they're not just like bearing a disproportionate amount of the shadow, but they also bear a disproportionate amount of the like commentary and criticism. I mean, like I've had this conversation with models before, is that all day they are constantly critiqued on the way that they look and their body and their dick and, you know, all those things that, you know, so many of us have insecurities about are displayed in a very public way. And while it's easy to say, well, these guys are sexy and hot and they don't have anything to be embarrassed about, the reality is that they really, I mean, I think are some of the more insecure people that I've met, because on a daily basis they're being criticized and critiqued and consumed as though they are just this object of like flesh and dick and ass, and not really thought of as any more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess like, who is the responsibility on to do better? Is it something that, you know, is it on the studios? Is it on the healthcare system? Is it on
I think
consumers?
it's on everyone. I think it's on
Yeah.
all of us. I particularly the viewers. I mean, if we're seeing it in the comments, I think it's our responsibility to stand up for each other and say something. I mean, I can imagine what it's like to be a porn star and be picked apart. There's a guy on Instagram that I follow. He's not known for porn or anything like that, but he posted something last week, and he talked about the comments being that he looks like he's getting fat. His face looks big. So now this week, every day, he's been posting that he's in the gym and working out. And that's like, I mean, on a small scale, I think, compared to a porn star who's completely picked apart for what they look like. And I think you guys are hitting the nail on the head, but there's also another piece of this too. It's getting older. You know, are people still interested in me anymore? Am I still able to make money in this? Do I even want to do this with my life? What options do I have? Like, you know, I just think all the way around, the resources are not there. And I think that because you as a porn star can be so criticized for the way that you feel, that they probably feel even less like they can talk about how they feel, you know?
Yeah. And I think as you do get older too, you know, your livelihood is based on your ability to get work. And I think it can create a lot of stress and anxiety. Like there's not like a porn star 401k program, you know, that people are buying into. And so I think it just creates a lot of stress, financial stress, in addition to emotional stress.
Yeah. I mean, starting over. I mean, for any one of us, we can understand what it's like to have to start over and figure out what it is that we want to do. And, you know, I'm sure that anyone who is a porn star absolutely has other skills and can do other things. But when you've been doing porn for so long and you stop and you think, well, what can I contribute? What do I put on my resume? What if I want to go work for a finance firm or whatever? I want to be a teacher. Like, you know, it's not as easy because as much as we all love porn, it's not necessarily socially acceptable.
Right. They're still going to hit that stigma.
Exactly.
Which, yeah, and I think that makes a big, you know, a parallel around like just our attitudes. Actually, you know, we are dealing with in ourselves, like all these, you know, politicians and ministers that are like so anti-LGBT legislation end up, you know, having sex with underage boys. You know, it's like what you're projecting onto other people. So whenever we don't make national, you know, decisions to help protect people like sex workers or porn actors in this way, I think what we're saying is like within our own selves, we don't find our sexuality to be worthy. We don't think that it's worth, you know, elevating and putting emphasis on as something to be cared for, just in general. So I think they end up having to kind of just bear that alone. And yeah, like how do you, you know, coming back from that industry and getting a job elsewhere and dealing with everybody else's like, ew, you know, but those are the same, I think those are the same people that are like logging on and watching these people. So
exactly.
So it's a self-honesty thing just for everyone in the community at large, I think, about sex.
Yeah, and it was definitely a somber note to start the week on. And I think for this project that we were going to do in Palm Springs, we're going to dedicate it to Casey and his memory. And yeah, it's, you know, my heart really goes out to him and his family. And yeah, it's tough. So, you know, it seems like trivial to talk about other things in light of this conversation, but did you guys have an interesting week, a weekend? How's your life?
Finn.
I was just thinking what an artful segue that was. I'm like, how do I drop the fact that I took a Cialis now after because my friend was like, oh my God, you know, I never tried this before and I was just curious. And so I actually wanted to take it and not tell my boyfriend that I took it and just kind of see what happened. And then yeah.
Wait, so Cialis is basically like a Viagra, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was fun. I mean, it was like I had like a permanent, you know, buzz going on in my dick and just kind of veiny looking no matter what. So it was hot. But I did get I got a headache and I did feel really hard. I liked it. I know, because I know a lot of men and I've definitely met a lot of guys in San Francisco that take them a lot and kind of sometimes rely on these when they don't really need it as a prescription. It's more like a mental thing. And I've in the past thought like, ew, I would never do that. But you know, this friend of mine, I trust him, and I thought it was kind of interesting experiment. So it was fun.
So are you addicted?
I am. I can't stop. I
Did it make your dick bigger?
4.
Did it make your dick bigger or just like really hard?
Yeah. It just was like swollen, like really intensely. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
How long did it last?
Well, my friend told me it would last like 72 hours, and I didn't really notice that much of it. I know that's what I was really excited about, but I think it was like a day's worth of like what I could tell, really.
Wait, it did not. It stayed hard. It stayed rock hard for 24 hours.
No, it was just like the proclivity towards getting hard. But this was right before I went to the hot springs, and so I did keep popping boners when I was at the hot springs. I think it's just like you're ready to go.
It didn't get like uncomfortable or painful or anything.
No, like priapism. No.
Huh.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I've met guys. I have a friend, another friend here that was recently involved with someone that's a porn actor, and he said that you know, this guy, every time that they would have sex, he wouldn't do it without injecting his dick with Trimex, and that's the kind of you know, I guess that's the kind of thing that I was in the past thinking like, oh God, if you don't need it, why would you take it? But it was fun. And
Just why would you put a needle in your dick if you can pop a pill?
I don't know.
I think the needle is like instantly effective, and like the pill, there's a delay. It's like, I mean,
there's
the
like a
injection
3
is
hour.
like, boom.
You can't find 30 minutes before to pop a pill?
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna last at least 24 hours according to Van. Come on.
And I also think though that the injection's probably a lot more effective, right? Like the pill like is kind of like, yeah, it'll probably do something for you, but like the injection is like, it's there, it's 4 hours, just rock hard dick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for it, by the way. The first time I saw it on a porn shoot, I was in like Barcelona or something. I was just like horrified. Everyone started like taking out needles to inject their dicks, and I was like, "What is going on?" Innocent me, I had no idea.
Yeah, I think I'd draw the line at that for myself. I'm not that curious about it.
Yeah. My experimentation this week has been going to see Avengers Endgame. Have you guys seen that yet?
No.
Yeah. I didn't really like it. It has like a 97% like Rotten Tomatoes score. I was like really excited about seeing it. I just didn't think like the story was that fucking interesting.
But do you think that's because you saw Game of Thrones?
You know, I do. I think it's because like Game of Thrones is so artful in their storytelling. It's so complicated. They will like plant something in season 1 that doesn't pay off until season 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those payoffs feel really good and fulfilling. Endgame is just like a bunch of explosions and special effects and like a cast of characters from like every like it just felt ridiculous. It was just shenanigans. The only saving note for me was Captain America's ass, which is what you said, Chris Evans.
I already knew.
Oh, he has this like little like his little spandex jumpsuit, and oh my god, he's so fucking hot. I would do anything for like if he had a very particular kink, like, and I had to do that kink to have sex with him. If he wanted to like fart on my face through his Captain America uniform, like if that's what it took for me to suck his dick, I would. You
really would let him fart on your face?
I think so.
Yeah.
If he was like, I'm just gonna like, I don't have to breathe it in, right? Like I can just like. Would you not?
I actually
no.
I want to see the picture. I'll just have to look it up.
Of Chris Evans?
Yeah, of his butt.
Dave has been obsessed with him since college. Remember that movie we saw in college? You must have watched it like 10, 20 times. And it's like the most basic movie.
Oh, it's well, no, and again, like Captain America, like none of it's good. It's just he's fucking hot. Oh my god, he has a gay brother too. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like him, but he has a gay brother.
Wow.
So, Matt, how was your week?
My week is not nearly as entertaining as it is for you guys. I'm here in Pennsylvania.
You didn't go see Avengers? That's a super right. We're not all popping Cialis.
I'm here in Pennsylvania traveling for work, and I'm just ready to get back and see my boyfriend and enjoy my weekend.
Sweet.
Your hotel room looks cute.
Yeah,
it's all right.
So is your sweater and shirt combo. I like it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're getting some good, like, is it afternoon light or is it dark out?
No, it's I mean late afternoon light. The sun's starting to set.
It's the golden hour. Also this week I've been planning we have 5, is that right? Yeah, 5 upcoming Him Roast TV shoots that I'm planning for simultaneously. And like 3 of them are really fucking elaborate. And like there's so many details for each one, and I'm not good with details, so I have a sheet of computer paper for each one with like every single thing that I need to do, just slowly like cross each item off the list. Like today I was doing the like catering for our shoot in Toronto, and there's going to be 14 bodies to feed. And so I like sent out an email with people's dietary restrictions. And like this is just like one component of like so many things, and literally each person replied with like this whole list of things that they don't eat and restrictions that they have. And Finn, your email was very funny. I appreciate that. Can I say what you said?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
You go, I only eat meats and vegetables. It's something like no breads, no grains, like none of that stuff. But that you were willing to organize your own meals, which I appreciated. But
what was the most like, I don't know, the most obnoxious one? You were just like beside yourself.
Like I only eat animals that had a name. Like
no.
No. Yeah, no one said that. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like as someone that eats pretty much everything, it's difficult for me to like to step into the world of like not being. I don't know. I just find that gay men can be very difficult, and I don't think that they deserve human rights. That's all. There, I said it.
Yeah, meat and veggies is kind of my thing. I actually have a photo shoot coming up in like a couple of weeks. I've been really eating really clean for, and I've been getting super lean and enjoying that. So at the moment, it's not exciting to me to eat sugar or anything off the plan.
We're good because we're only gonna have ice cubes. And that's the only thing that everyone can agree on. So, and I had a fun weekend actually. My Marine friend, who I think I mentioned like a month ago, Matt, he came to Palm Springs and we went hiking. It was 102 degrees. I think we went for like a 3-mile hike. I posted a picture of him climbing a rock in front of me because his ass is
his ass climbing a rock.
That's right.
That was all ass.
How do you think I got through a 3-mile hike or 3-hour hike in 102-degree heat? I just watched that ass.
Them cakes are motivation.
It's like holding a carrot in front of the donkey, you know? Just like, oh. So, yeah, that was fun.
Does that taste good?
You know, I didn't eat it. But I did a lot of other things with it. So, on a related note, I'm also still sticking with my no jerking off to porn commitment. So it's like week 2 or 3, I think, at this point of no. I still watch porn. Obviously, I watch it for work because Himrose TV, which is not technically porn. It's like porn, but but I also like I still have kind of been checking out like what's on the Pornhub and but I just don't jerk off to it. I get like aroused by it and I don't jerk off. For people that are just kind of tuning in for the first time, the issue for me is that it's super easy for me to jerk off to porn. It's a lot harder for me to jerk off when I'm having sex with real life, which is stupid because I'm literally doing in real life the things that I'm jerking off watching other people do in porn. So I'm not sure why it's so difficult for me to. I think there's like conditioning. Like I'm just, yeah.
It's like Pavlov's dog.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
True.
I did have a little bit of a revelation because like when I was having sex, so there's been moments during this like 3-week period where I've been having sex and I think to myself, oh, I'm just gonna save it because I'm gonna watch porn like later tonight, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm not. So I better come now. And I think in past instances, part of it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna save it for later because I'm gonna have fun jerking off to porn. And when I don't have like, well, this is as good as it's fucking gonna get. You're either gonna like come now or you're gonna be by yourself in an hour. So I think I was secretly sabotaging my cum so that I could save it to jerk off with.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I
love
hearing about this process.
Do you?
I do.
I'd be like curious to know if you. I'm sorry. Go on, Finn.
No, you.
I want to say I'd be curious to know if you feel like you ever get to a point where you come more quickly since you're not watching porn.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that I'm coming at all is like a revelation. So that is coming at all is quicker than coming never. And I'll see if it continues on that trajectory.
to that point, I've experimented with these things myself, and it was like a couple of years ago. I had this feeling of like, oh wow, like when I whack off to porn, I can get really aroused and really fast in a way that's like more challenging for me to do with people in real life. And when I realized that, that kind of scared me. Like, oh no, like, is this always going to be this way? And so I stopped making it a practice at that point to, at least generally, to do so, because sometimes it still happens. But it's not like the daily thing that I do anymore. And it did make it where I was more sensitive. And then I've had, conversations with a friend of mine who's a Tantra instructor, and he was recommending not only, going beyond that, but just like pleasuring yourself in all kinds of different ways. Cause most guys, like including myself, would just like, jack off in a certain kind of way with my hand and a certain kind of grip. And then it would be like with, with my partner or something, I'd have to do it myself in this certain kind of way. And I'm just noticing the limitation there. So I've been like trying to, jack off standing up, jack off laying down, jack off, all these different positions and with different touches and, just to get my body to like, have different experiences. And it really is helping.
I think that's really good advice. Yeah. I went through I don't know, maybe last year, I think it was during the podcast at one point where I was like experimenting with jerking off with my left hand, and my right hand would still start going once I got close to like coming, because it's like so used to it. Like it was pretty problematic. I was like jerking off a ghost stick.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I filmed a video this week that's going up tomorrow. So by the time you guys hear this podcast, which will probably be Friday, it should be up on my YouTube channel with Ray Dexter. We're going to be working with him in Toronto next month. And it's about him he's so sweet. He's really fun. It's about him being a hung Asian top, and his stereotype smashing journey into porn. And I'm going to post that video for you to check out. But I mean, a lot of it's about like pop culture's portrayal of Asian guys as these like submissive bottoms, and how he wants to empower gay Asian boys to really be who they want to be in sex, and not necessarily who the world tries to define them to be. So it's good. Finn, you saw the preview of that already, huh?
I did. Yeah. He's adorable. And I really loved what he was saying. And I do love he's helping to defy that stereotype. I mean, here's my question though. If he didn't have that dick, would he still be intent on defying the stereotype?
Yeah.
And how much
I was thinking that too.
People like hang up on the dick. So like, be who you want to be. I'm like, yeah, no matter what dick you have, whoever you want to be on the inside, you got to find a way to be it.
Right. Because he's still playing into another stereotype, which is that tops are hung.
Right. Yeah.
So
and there's time and place for that.
Yeah, he also talked. This wasn't in the video, but he talked about his experience being on gay dating apps, and I think he quoted it as like no femmes, no fatties, no Asians. Like the commentary that he often that's just what his experience has been with coming across profiles. And I mean, there's a lot of meat to get into there. And we were talking about like, there's guys who think that them wanting their desire to fuck white guys or whatever guys, insert whatever race it is a preference. And they say that in the same way that like, it's my preference to fuck guys and not women. Right. And the thing is like, they're not the same. And I think the answer to that is no, it's actually quite different. And like my sexual orientation, at least from what I've seen and from what I've read, is really rooted more deeply in my biology. And thus it's not really something that like I'm able to change. Whereas desiring a specific race is more deeply rooted in your personal experience and the messages you've received from pop culture and the movies you see in the books and your family, magazines, TV shows, like all that.
Yeah.
And that results in another form of conditioning. And as human beings with the ability to think beyond, the boundaries, the narrow world in which we were raised, like, can we reprogram ourselves? And I I think it's difficult to change, but it is changeable. That we can step outside those so-called preferences, because they're not. They're an expression of racism, and it's something that I struggle with personally myself. And every boyfriend that I've had has been like white appearing, so it's hard for me to own that as potentially, an expression of racism or as a symptom of a problem. But I think it's really something to look at. So is this something that you guys have thought about, like in regards to your own experience with online dating, or something you've come up against?
Absolutely. And my own internalized racism that shows up in my own preferences. I mean, it's inescapable, and examining those things like a consciousness is like the only way to start to break outside of it. And I think I love what you just said too about it, rooted in your biology versus rooted in something that's been indexed to a social story. And just from like a perspective around turn on, anything that we're really turned on about, again, it's this erotic shorthand that puts us in touch with a place in our own self. So ultimately we have all that power in ourselves. We don't need this thing outside of us to feel turn on. I mean, that's what some of the things that we're trying to help with Tantra to introduce to guys. And so if you think that you can't get turned on because of somebody's ethnicity, you're just kind of basically handing your turn on out there to like circumstances, instead of realizing that it lives inside of us and that we can totally work with that and recondition how we think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I feel there's a lot of things that I don't find hot anymore that I did when I was younger, that just through time I've not even thought about, but I've kind of let go of, and things that are hot to me now that are new, so it's always kind of evolving.
Yeah. Matt, you've certainly the guys that you're attracted to, really know no bounds of race or ethnicity. Why do you think that, has that ever been something that you've had to deal with or to transcend? Has it ever been a struggle for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, when we were in college, I would say I was probably only interested in white guys. And I'd say that for me, it was partially because of my experience and my upbringing. I grew up in a predominantly white environment. I only went to white schools. I was never around other people who looked like me. And I think that
for people who are listening on the podcast but can't see you,
I'm
what
back.
do you mean by people who look like you?
So for me, and I have to say, I didn't realize what I was doing until I think I was a senior in college, but someone that we both know said something to me about it. And I kind of had like this moment of, oh, well, I'm just not interested in dating anyone else. And the more and more I thought about why, there were some issues within myself that I had to deal with, and some things that I was really focused on trying to be, and other things I was trying to ignore, just because of the environments that I was in. And it wasn't that I necessarily thought that I would be judged for being me or for being Black. It was more about removing this idea of my Blackness to avoid that conversation or that feeling even coming up. It wasn't even based on something that was necessarily real, or really there. And like as I got older, I dealt with it. I mean, Dave, I'm like the freaking United Nations of dating. Like I could care less. But that also brings about its challenges because, I've dated people who happen to be white, who are interested in me and they like me, but they don't want to bring me around their friends. They don't want to get serious with me because they know that the people that are most important to them don't accept that. I was telling Dave, I think last night or the night before, like at the same time, like I've been interested in Asian men at times in my life, and I was telling Dave, I've never found an Asian man that's like ever like even been interested in or willing to like go out on a date with me. Like I find like, and I mean, maybe you just haven't talked to, wasn't talking to the right one. I don't know, but I've always been open to things, but I found that there are instances where because I am Black, am treated like, well, I'm not good enough. Which is hard, which I guess in one sense is hard, but at the same time for me, it's like, well, I treat it as that's the person saying that to me, and that's not everyone. That's not all white people, all Asian people, all Black people, whatever, saying that to me. I treat it as the individual, and I'm still open to getting to know anyone regardless of their ethnicity. It means nothing to me. I mean, I'm just I'm a little shallow. I just want a cute face and a fat ass. I'm good.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
What about fetishizing you? Like being interested in you specifically because you're Black. How does that land?
Oh, that definitely happens a lot. And I mean, of course, at first, you don't know any better. You start playing the game. They want to see your dick pic. You send the dick pic. And I think that over time, I became very conscious of that. And I purposely would not send my dick pic to see, well, like, because I'm not necessarily on here just looking for sex. What are you actually interested in? But yeah, you do deal with those things. And I have some Black friends of mine that talk about how much they hate it and how hard it has been at times for them to date, because it's like, well, you're supposed to be Black and that's not big enough. And that's hard. That can be, I think that could really fuck you up, when it gets time to getting physical with someone. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I do think there's intersecting discussions about turn-ons and like what you were saying just now about like people's assumptions around ethnicity in this, like, where's power, and like kind of what you're saying about Ray, someone wanting a subby Asian bottom and not really being open to him, like you mentioned in the video, even after after saying no, I'm a top, and showing them his dick, and that kind of defies what they're looking for, is like this person to project onto, like a sense maybe of powerlessness, so that person can feel powerful. And it's all, we do that in our own ways with all of our sex partners, or projecting, and all of it's able to be analyzed and to looked into and to be enriched.
Yeah, like I have one friend who he purposely does not date. He's Black. He doesn't date outside of his race anymore. He won't. And his reasoning is like he says that he's average, and that whenever he would date someone that was not Black, they would say, well, or a couple of times it happened where they'd say, well, this is my first experience. I was expecting more than that. So for him, it's like, you know what, I'll stick with M culture. And it's like, I have some female Black friends that say, the whole running idea that every Black guy has a huge dick is funny, because I have one friend in particular. She'd be like, you know how many Black men I've come across that have like a little baby dick? Like, she'll just say it like that. And like for her, it's like, she's been with guys that have dicks of different sizes. And, for her, like, that's not what's most important. But also for a lot of people, and we all have this experience, we all know people who for them, even your race aside, like a big dick, that's what's important to them. Like, they can't go without a big dick.
I don't know anyone like that.
So like imagine if like if someone says something in passing about, oh, how much they love a big dick, and you're talking to a guy who's like, well, I don't have that, do they? And then sometimes they probably just disappear, and you're always going to wonder why. Well, little do you know, they felt insecure about the size of their dick because it's not good enough. I mean, it's terrible.
In Ray's instance, he was saying that people are just fixated on his dick, and so all he is like a dick with a human being attached to it.
Right? Absolutely.
Like, that's how people view him.
Absolutely.
Matt, by the way, how do you feel about Brazilian men? This is a segue.
Oh, I mean, Brazil is on my list. I just want to see. I can't touch anymore. I just want to see.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, you can see without flying down there.
It ain't the same. It ain't the same. I need my in-person experience.
Okay. Well, you sent me an article today about Brazil's far-right radical president saying that gay tourists are only welcome to Brazil if they have sex with women.
That man is crazy.
I went to Brazil as a gay tourist, and I definitely did not have sex with women. I had some good dick in Brazil. I don't even remember. I just remember that there was a lot of it, and it was good.
It's such a ridiculous thing to say, as if like if you go have that basically it's assuming that sex is just the function, like you go have sex with a woman, it's cool if you're gay, but it's like it doesn't even. It's just anti-intellectual. I've read that article and it was really frustrating.
And it hurts. Which gave you more of a headache, the Cialis?
No, it gave me a headache. Trying to like reframe it in a compassionate way instead of just being like, "God, what a fucking idiot," and just like.
You really do have an art for reframing things in a compassionate way. I love that. I love when you do that because it just kind of takes me out of my like instant reaction of just like annoyance or anger. Your ability to see things compassionately. It's an art.
Oh, thank you. I mean, honestly, I would try though, because I'm like, well, I want to understand why this person says such things that I think are so stupid, and like, where would this be coming from?
Yeah, no, it's a good thing to do.
Out if possible.
All right, let's talk about this week's video called Harder and Softer on Himeros.tv. It features Chris Harder. That's funny. I didn't even realize that till just now. It's Harder and Softer featuring Chris Harder alongside Wesley Woods. And it's all about exploring the extremes of soft touch and hard touch. So we filmed the video in two scenes. One was very slow and soft and sensual and intimate. And the other was like super high energy, aggressive, spit, taking, whatever. It was hot. But then we edited the two scenes together into one video. Mm-hmm. So as a viewer, you kind of go through these like highs and lows. You go from fast to slow, a little bit of a roller coaster action. You guys can watch the preview on Himeros.tv. The preview doesn't really do a great job of showing both types of energy, but anyway, you can at least get a taste of it. And once you decide to stop being a freeloader and support the creation of queer art, then you can become a member and see the whole thing. So what did you guys think of the video?
Loved it.
You also, yeah.
After what?
Was this before Cialis? After?
I did the Cialis it was like a week ago. So
okay. What did you love about it, Finn?
I liked their connection. I liked the kissing, the way that they kissed, like very passionate, and how I like to be kissed. And I liked the emphasis on all the different qualities of touch, the different characteristics. And I mean, it's kind of like what we've been saying all day. In a way, it's like sex is so much more than just this like functional thing that you just do. And like they kind of exhibit that to me. Like it's when they were rubbing on each other's dick heads in just tiny little circles. Like I was just so turned on thinking about that. In fact, again, I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to do this." So I'm gonna like do this video alongside it, which I've been trying to do lately. Yeah, it showed a lot of variance, and I appreciate that in my sex expression.
Yeah. And did you think the guys were handsome?
Yes, it's a leading question, Connor. I love Chris Harder. I fucking love Chris Harder. I love him.
You're turning red, Finn.
No, I'm tan.
We need to invent a scratch and sniff version of these videos for you, Finn.
Yes.
Smell-o-vision, you know?
Yeah, I think Chris Harder, I think he's sexy. I like the way he shows up on the camera and the way I've liked him in a lot of the different videos. I like how he's been in some videos that are kind of outside the box, and he seems, at least to me, he seems kind of unfazed by requests made of him in video. So
what do you think, Matt?
So I have a confession.
You didn't watch it.
I did not, and it's because my username and password does not work right. So we need to fix that.
Didn't I just give you a username and password?
Yes, but remember when you were before we started, you were like, stop clicking.
So you were gonna watch it.
I had been trying to watch it
while we're talking.
I was still trying to watch it, and it won't let me in.
Well, I want a 4-page essay about harder and softer due next week for
you're gonna
discussion.
On a side note, I will say that Norman is actually interested in doing a podcast,
which is great because everyone at home really knows who Norman is. So
well, we can announce who Norman is. I mean, who's Norman? Hard. Norman is a friend of mine, and Norman would be our first straight male that we have on our podcast if he does it.
I think this is what episode are we on now? 51, 52?
We're 53.
53?
I think it's 53.
Well, I like the idea that we've made it a year without any straights.
I mean, we can welcome them too.
Well, yeah, after we got a lesbian.
I know, but then I think about the content.
Where are you drawing, Matthew?
I'm not drawing the line. All are welcome.
Actually, there are a few lesbians that are members of the site that really enjoy our content.
So we should have them on because I am sure they have a perspective. I mean, I'm sure that they watch.
I'm sure they do. I just don't want to hear it.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I like this smile. Your smile being mischievous.
So I got to try some of this weekend with the Marine, and I have to say, for me, the slow touch can be just as intense as the hard touch. In some instances, like intense in a different way, but more. Like I'm trying to think of an example. Like there was an instance where I was like, his dick was, in my face, and I was sucking it or getting fucked by. I don't know what the hell was happening, but I was doing something with it like pretty aggressively, and then I would hop off and then use my like backs of my fingers or my nails. I'll do it to the microphone. Let's see. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So I would do that like over the shaft of his dick and up over the head, and his whole body would like shake and like quiver and like shiver. It was just like it was really hot. And then I'd like lube him up again and like work up his dick like very aggressively, and then back off and go very slow and soft. And it was really fun to like incorporate that. I think most of the sex that I have had has played in the harder spectrum. Like, every guy, he wants to pound you, you want to get pounded, you want to pound someone. Like, that's just like the language that everyone always uses. No one's ever like, I'm going to fuck you so softly and sensually and just make you beg for it. Like, which is, I think, like a result of the porn that we see. It's always just like people getting their asses just like obliterated, and it's fun and it's hot, but there is this whole other side to it that most of us, I think, probably haven't explored that much.
Yeah.
And it's just as juicy. It's just as fun.
Yeah.
Not even in a relationship though.
Like that soft, slow touch. I mean, I do in my relationship now, but I think it's a result of seeing this work. I don't think in the past, I think I always just got like pounded or have pounded.
Okay. I was having an experience like that just this morning, actually. Before I watched this video, my partner was playing with my dick, and it was in this way where it wasn't how I would jack off, and it was a different kind of touch, and it's really slow and with oil, and it was really, really intense. And it did take me to this kind of place where, you like kind of lose track of like being a body. It's just like sensation, and it was really intense. But it wasn't like just like a fast pumping of my dick trying to make me come. It was just like focused on the quality of the sensation being given. And I think that's what we cut ourselves off from if we like get focused on trying to come, or like just, like you're like pounding to create this particular kind of intensity. If you just, I mean, maybe you're not even feeling that kind of intensity on the inside. So like going with how you feel is going to align, and it's going to produce more excitement, I think. I mean, who hasn't gotten pounded, and you're sitting there getting pounded and you're like, what the fuck? I can't wait till this is over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
A lot.
making all kinds of, oh yeah, oh fuck, just
Yeah,
like,
you're like, just fucking come already,
yeah.
because my pussy's gonna fall out.
Yeah, because I mean, I think on the inside, maybe I'm wanting a different experience, but just not knowing how to access it or something,
Mm-hmm. I used to think that like hard sex was good sex.
Mm-hmm.
It can be,
Sure.
especially if I have feelings like frustration, anger, some rage coming up.
But it was almost like interchangeably, like the harder you fucked someone, then like the better you fucked someone. It was like
Yeah.
and because like I do a lot of cardio and I'm pretty athletic, like I can really fuck someone hard. And I was like, man, I must fuck people good. Like but it's not taking into consideration like what people want, and like it's just yeah. All right, any other thoughts about the video before we get to questions?
Lots of good ass eating. Real good. Real
I like
good.
the underwear being ripped off.
Yeah, and I have to say, those underwear were baggy on him to start out. I didn't like the underwear.
No, I'm sorry.
I was glad that they got ripped. I was like,
good.
Yeah.
Big cum shot too in that video.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I did love the juxtaposition of the back and forth, and then it not being in time. How do you say, like an anachronism, right? Like it's out of time. You're seeing like this and that, and yeah, totally.
Yeah, so check it out, Matt. Once you we sort out this password situation.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys were very connected. I thought that was true. So by the way, I just want to mention before we get to the questions, there's only 2 weeks left to apply to be a participant in our upcoming September retreat that we are filming. And if you're interested, you can go to himrose.tv/blog. You'll need to scroll down, I think, a few weeks to see the entry page. But we can get those submissions, I think, by like May 15th. All the information's on there, including like the details, honorarium, the flight information, what we're going to be doing. All right. In the meantime, let's answer some questions. If you guys have any questions, send them to Davey at daveywavey.tv. The first question, boom, let's hit this one out of the park. Please have everyone share their shoe size. This really helps me listen to the podcast.
I'm assuming that this person's going to get us all a pair of shoes, and if so, I'm going to let you know what kind I want. It depends.
I think you're misinterpreting the question, but okay, what?
Yeah, well, I'm a 9.
Cut or uncut?
Well, it's tricky and it's hard to answer because I did recently my foreskin.
You what?
I stretched out my foreskin again.
How do you do that?
Oh,
Matthew, you're so innocent.
Go to norm.org, norm.org.
That should be a whole podcast just about this.
It should be. I'm so curious.
It's a movement, man.
Yeah. And it's not cut or uncut. It's intact is the correct. We don't frame it in terms of a genital mutilation. So you're either intact or you're not.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 10 and a half or 11, depending on what brand it is.
Mm-hmm.
Matt?
11 and a half, 12, depending on the brand.
Yeah, I'm a little unclear how this helps this person listen to the podcast. Maybe it's like our conversation is so insufferable that by imagining our feet like helps him get through it. I don't really know.
I want to know the context.
Yeah. So please elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Question number 2. You guys previously discussed Mayor Pete, but I'm curious how important sexuality is to you and your co-host in a presidential candidate. Mayor Pete is gay, by the way. I have a long list of priorities, but sexuality is not among them, even though I'm a gay man. In terms of making this country a better place, I don't think it's that important.
Wow.
I think yes, there are a lot of things to consider. I do think, though, having the first openly gay president of the United States does make this country a better place.
Absolutely.
It shatters the ceiling. If you told me as a kid that I could openly be the president of the United States and be openly gay, I would have told you were crazy. That. I think that is a really empowering moment. So I do think it makes the country a better place. But yeah, I get it. There are other things to consider.
Yeah, I have so much to say about this. I'm gonna have to summarize it as quickly as I can, though, because I think to me it's it symbolizes kind of one of the rants that I've been having today in general on this is sex is not just this he's oh, sex isn't that important to me, as if it has nothing to do with
who you are, the decisions.
Exactly, the integrity. For that sex is this mechanical thing. I mean, for an analogy, it's like eating. Eating is not just the act of chewing. It's you're thinking about food. It's like a fantasy. You're thinking about what you want. It's like the smell, the texture, the satisfaction that you get from having it, the agency of being able to have the food when you want it. There's just so much. And who he is as a person and the strength of being openly gay in politics, which is a really challenging world to be your whole self in and represent because of people's ideas. I think it says a lot about his character, and I just really love a lot about him. So I think not just sex, it's a lot, and our country could really, I think, benefit from bringing sex to more of a healed kind of place and forefront, besides it just being just sex, and we don't really talk about that in public.
Yeah, I think that obviously being gay is not oh my God, let me run out and vote for him right now. But I do think that it's a moment where this man has the courage to be himself on a world stage, no different than Hillary Clinton running to be the first female president, or Barack Obama becoming the first African-American president. The fact that they are the first does not mean, oh my God, I have to vote for them. But I think it's very courageous, and it's a moment where it's I wonder what they are about. They are choosing to step out and do something that no one else is doing. Let me stop and pay attention to them for a minute. But at the same time, him being a gay man, I think I am more interested in what he has to say for gay rights. That matters to me. Especially because it's another way that I can now relate to him. That's something else that as voters, I think we all look for, is a way that we can relate to people. When people are running for president, they hire consultants for this specific reason. How can I relate to voters? So to say that it just, I mean, I guess for him, different strokes for different folks if it doesn't matter to you, but I guess I'm just surprised to hear him say that it really doesn't matter. On some level, I think it should.
Yeah. As a gay man, to see someone like yourself in that way rise to the highest office in the land, I think that sends a pretty powerful message.
Sure.
I'm going to skip question 3. I really like question 3, but I'll save that for next week. Because we don't have enough time to do it justice. Next week, we are going to talk about a video titled "A World Without Fear." Finn, where can people get more of you?
Go to my website, finndeerhart.com, FINNDEERHART.com.
It's like porn, but better. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always,
more
to come.
To
come. More to come.
Bye, guys.
Bye.